Hello and welcome to today's video. We're going to be covering topics under the Standard 5.3 in 8th grade and also under the topics in Study Island called Central Tendency and Range. So today we're going to be looking at questions on mean, median, mode, and range. So you're going to want to know the definitions of those and how to calculate those, and it's going to make these problems a lot easier when you understand those vocabulary words. So make sure you're taking notes on those vocabulary words and copying down the questions also so that you have them to refer to when you're trying these problems on your own, and you can study from them also. And also don't forget, you can always pause at the beginning of the question, work the problem out yourself, and then watch the video, and so you can learn, okay, this is what I'm doing really great, and this is what I still need to work on, and that's a great study tool also. So I'm so glad that you're joining us today, and let's go ahead and take some notes.
The mean, which is sometimes called the average, you're going to add up all the numbers and divide by the number of data values. And the mean, that's a good one to calculate when there are no outliers, and an outlier being a number that is unlike the other. So if you had 1, 2, 6, 6, 5, 5, 2, 2, 3, 3 as your numbers, and then all of a sudden you had 100, the 100 would be an outlier. The median is your middle number when the numbers are in order. And then if you have an even number of data values, that's when you're going to take the mean of the two middle values. So if you have two middle numbers, average them. A median is good to calculate when there are outliers. So when you do have those big numbers or really small numbers that don't make sense. Mode is the number that occurs the most. Mode is a good number to calculate when seeking specific categorical data. So for example, if the most common age of a driver's license applicant, that would be a good time to calculate the mode. If you're looking for something that is the most common or most typical. The range is the distance between the highest and lowest number of a data set. So you would take the big number minus the small number. And the range is used to calculate variability or spread. So how far apart the data points are. That's the range. So here you want to calculate the number that is the mode. So you want to see what number occurs the most times. So the easiest way to do this is to put the numbers in order, which I went ahead and did here. So, and you always want to double check that you didn't leave any out or you put an extra one in. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points in my original. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here that I've written down. Always do that double check, because if you miss one or add an extra in, it's going to mess up your whole number. So now it's fairly easy to see 93 happens 3 times. No other number happens the same or more than that. So that means my mode or most number here is going to be D. This problem says that the number 128 is added to the set above. How is the mode affected? So the first thing I'm going to do is find the mode of the original set by putting the numbers in order. So I went ahead and did that here, and I have 5 in my original and 5 here. Well, my mode of this set is 128. So if I add in another 128, my mode number is still going to be 128. So my mode is not affected at all. It remains the same. So that's going to be choice C. The next question says, John plays quarterback for the football team. The number of passes he has completed per game so far this season are recorded below. What statement best describes the median of this set of data? So we're asked to calculate the median. Now I definitely have to put the data points in order for this. So I went ahead and did that here. And I have 6 data points in my table, and I have 6 written down here. So I double checked it. And so median is going to be my middle number. So if I go and tick them off to see which numbers are in the middle, they have an even amount of data. So I'm looking for the middle number between 17 and 19. And so the number that's exactly between 17 and 19 is 18. So my median here is going to be C, 18. So here, the median flight time of 5 flights from Dallas to Chicago is 146 minutes. The flight times in minutes of 4 of the flights are shown below. So it could be a flight time of the 5th flight. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 4 that I do know in order, from smallest to biggest. And the problem tells me that the median is 146 minutes. That means that this is going to be my middle number. So that means I have the same amount of digits on the top as I do below. So here I have 2 above, but only 1 below. So that means that the 5th flight has to be smaller than 146. And then so the only number here that is smaller than 146 is 140, which is going to make my final answer D. This problem says Miss Clarence recorded the following test scores for the last test. Which statement below describes the median of the 2 sets of data? So I'm going to have to put each of these in order, the girls and the boys test scores first. So I went ahead and did that here. I have all 5 for the girls and I have all 5 for the boys. And so the median is going to be the middle number. So if I tick them off, here is my middle number 87. And then the same here with the boys, 77 is the middle number. So each of those has 2 below and 2 above. So the girls is going to be bigger, and if you subtract those numbers, 87 minus 77 is a difference of 10. So that means the girls is bigger by 10 points. So if I look at choice D, it says here the girls' test scores is greater than the medians of the boys' test scores by 10 points. So that's what I'm looking for. So my final answer here is choice D. So now I'm going to calculate the mean of these numbers. So that means I'm going to add up all of these numbers and divide by the number of numbers. And so when I add up 28 plus 20 plus 4 plus 12, I get 64. And then I'm going to have to take 64 and divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 numbers there, so I divide 64 by 4. And when I do that, I get 16. So the mean of those numbers is choice C, 16. This problem says Ping took 5 math tests this summer and he gets to retake the first test to earn a higher score. If his mean score on the last 4 tests was 75%, what is the score that Ping needs to earn when he retakes the first test to get an overall mean test score to be 80%? So to calculate that mean, I'm going to have to know the sum of the first 4 tests so that I can add it to the 5th test. And then I'm going to divide that by 5. And I want that to equal 80%. So I don't know that 5th test. However, I can figure out what the sum of the 4 tests were. I know that their mean was 75%. So if I have that sum and I divide it by 4, that gets me the 75%. So if I take 75 times 4, that's going to get me the sum of those first 4 tests. And 75 times 4 is 300. So that means here I can take 300 plus x, because that's what I'm looking for. And that's going to be divided by 5 equals 80. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. And that's going to cancel out this divide by 5 and just leave me with 300 plus x on the left. And then 80 times 5 is 400. And then I subtract 300 from both sides. And those cancel out, and I'm just left with x, and then 400 minus 300 is 100. So that means he has to get a 100% every single problem right when he retakes that first test. So here we have a table that shows the number of ice cream bars Sally sold over the last 4 days last week. If the mean number of ice cream bars sold all 5 days is 95, how many ice cream bars did Sally sell on Friday? So to find the mean, I would add up all 5 days. So I would take 74 plus 94 plus 114 plus 77 plus that mystery 5th day number. So I'm going to put plus x. And then I have 5 days, so I'd divide that sum by 5. And I know that would equal my mean. And here it tells me my mean is 95. So I'm going to set that equal to 95. And so now I just have to solve for x. So the first thing I'm going to do is add up these 4 numbers. And when I add up those 4 numbers, I get 359. And so everything else stays the same. I'm still going to add that to x. And I'm going to have divide by 5 equals 95. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to undo that divide by 5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. And that's going to cancel out the divide by 5, opposite operations, and I'm just left with 359 plus x, and then 95 times 5 is 475. And then my last step is going to be to get x completely by itself by subtracting 359 from both sides. And those cancel out, and I'm just left with x equals 475 minus 359 is 116. And that's going to be my final answer, which is choice B. So here we have the number of applicants for each of the 8 open positions at a company are listed below. What is the range of the number of applicants? Remember, the range is calculated by taking the smallest number or the biggest number minus the smallest number. So my smallest number here is 8, and my biggest number is 254. So you always want to double check that you can't find a number smallest or bigger in your list. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take 254 minus 8. And when I do that, I get 246 as my answer, so choice D. This question says if the number 76 is added to the data set, how is my range affected? So first I'm going to find my range of before it's added in. So before I added in, my smallest number is 64 and my biggest number is 70. So for my first range, I'm going to take 70 minus 64, which is 6. And now I'm going to add in that 76. So 64 is still my smallest number, but now 76 is my biggest number. So I'm going to take 76 minus 64, and when I do that, I get 12. And so when I add that number in, it increases by 6. So my range went up by 6, so that's going to make B my final answer. This problem says, at a local government, the winner shot a 64 while the person that finished last shot a 98. Which of the following would show the difference between the score of a person that is finished first and the person that finished last? So if you're taking the person that did the best and the worst, that's going to be the smallest and biggest number. So that's going to be the range. So here's another problem where we're finding which of the mean, median, mode would be the best representation of the data. So it says the chart above shows the football scores for the Jets this season. Which of the following measures of central tendency would show the most typical score for the Jets this season? So anytime you are looking for most typical or most common, that's always the mode that's going to represent that the best. That's going to give you the best idea of what you're looking for. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you learned something new.